Happy Valentine's Day, and welcome to Breaking the Silence. This is the community chat where we allow people who are members of Breaking the Silence to come on camera. Not many of them today. We had a much better turnout last time, but seeing how it is uh, Valentine's Day, which is evident with what's behind, very appropriate. Mary's head, pretty head. So she's my Valentine. So blah, blah, blah. What's new? What's new? I am working on, Mary and I are both working on together. We are collaborating on the communion letters, and we're reading. She's gone through and picked some of the ones that'll really work well for our format, where she reads them, but I'm doing the visuals and the score to them. And the first one will be premiered next Saturday. And I've been working on it real hard and really doing some amazing stuff. So let's bring on Earl.
Hey guys, happy Valentine's Day.
Yay. And there is Joe.
Oh, there's Joe and Dennis. There's a few of us.
I'll be darned. So
I saw the one illustration you had there with the ET holding the little light ball in his crystal in his hand. I've got a similar one. This one my sister-in-law sent me. It actually has the galaxy, the Milky Way in there, if you see. It's
wow.
Cool. And it lights up, but I wasn't going to.
Oh, well, that makes it extra. So, Joe, how are you? Besides having a beard.
Yes, I look different than when you last saw me.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good.
Just trying to age gracefully and enjoying this winter wetness. We needed the rain, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, we were a little shell shocked with it because of course, our house being flooded last year. And as hard as it came down yesterday, I'm happy to report that that the county learned from their mistakes of the previous year, which they claim was an act of God, but it really was an act of the county not keeping the river clean enough to handle the water amount of water was going down it. So I was up off and on all night watching out the window. Oh, there's nothing like waking up at 2 a.m. and stepping in a couple of feet of water.
I can imagine.
But it didn't happen this year. And so, yes, we really needed that rain. I only wish it had come a couple of weeks earlier. It would have prevented those fires.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. It would have been
so
more convenient.
What's new with you guys?
Earl, go ahead.
Oh, I was talking to Mary and Steve a little bit about this. I, had a person contact me kind of out of the blue. And now I'm finding out that she found out about me through Dustin Eskelson because he saw a random post she had made on Instagram about her father, who had worked as an aerospace engineer, who was taken out to the middle of the desert. And anyway, she gave kind of a short synopsis of a kind of a long story, but Dustin felt like it was, kind of related to my mom's story of having worked for Hughes back in the 1950s, which was in an underground facility. But apparently, I had a phone call with her, lives back east, and her father was taken out. Same story as my mom. They drove him out. It took hours out to the middle of the Nevada desert. And there was a shack. This is the way that he described it, was a shack. And in that shack, there was an elevator. There was an armed guard who had a machine gun. That was the only, guard situation there. Nothing else around. And they didn't tell him what to expect. He got into the elevator and it went down and kept going down. And he felt vertigo from the speed of the elevator. It finally stopped. The doors opened up. And that's where it's a little different from my story. He said that there was this long hallway that was all lit up, a bunch of lights up on top. And he went in there, and he was given an address of that didn't really make sense to him. But this was the only information he had of where he was going. The address was it looked like it was for New York. It was like Broadway Street with a number, or 52nd Street, or, she didn't give me the exact address. It was written down. But it turned out that in this hallway,
And we lost Earl.
He'll be back.
Oh,
Now he's
no.
back.
This happens sometimes. Yeah. Anyway, I'll try to keep this short. They apparently took him to this door, and there was another aerospace engineer that worked for a different company that was waiting there as well. And they had the door opened up, and you would have the pressure of your feet would light the lights above you, but it was perfectly dark when they went in there. It was scary. The door led to a tall staircase, very narrow and kind of scary. Didn't know where it was leading to. It was dark up top, and they went up to the top, and there was another door, and they opened this thing up, and there below them there was like a catwalk that there was above this facility, a lab that was huge. And this woman's father didn't tell her what they showed him, but what he told his daughter was that the other aerospace engineer fainted when he saw what they presented to him. And apparently whatever they showed him, it changed his life, the course of his life. He was suddenly working on this other project. My guess is they probably showed him, a gravity-defying, maybe a saucer or something like that. That's the story I've heard from people that had similar stories to this. Dan Harari, who runs the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, his father had a similar story to this as well. But anyway, the guy had his story was very much like my own mother's story. This woman said that she sat on the secret for 30 some years and just decided to put up, the bait on Instagram to see if anybody would respond. And synchronicity working the way it does for me, our friend Dustin saw this and he connected us. So bit by bit, these little pieces are coming together about my mom and her work with UFOs.
Which implicates Howard Hughes, too.
So that's the newest thing for me. I can't hear you, Mary. I think you're muted.
I think you may be. I'm eager to see Whitley's latest show, which I guess it was released early, but you couldn't see it, but we'll be able to hear it next weekend, where he talks to your friend Peter. Earl,
Peter Robbins?
Yes, about the cover-up.
Cool.
That NASA got evidently recently. They got caught red-handed doctoring up images of Mars and the moon, and we know they've been doing that. And from what I understand, I'm sure that you all saw the square shape on the surface of Mars.
Okay.
That was released recently. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've seen all the other ones too. And yes, some of them are natural, obviously, but some of them, I'm sorry,
There's
they just,
Dennis.
I've never seen anything on Earth like that.
Hello.
Um, Hi, Dennis. And so, um, I guess that Peter's really come forward to point out how they've been doctoring the pictures and what's been going on. Um, I mean, they're in my understanding of events from the time I was a child. I had been told repeatedly that Mars was once a place that was our home, and that something catastrophic happened. I don't think it was a war. I think it was something that happened in our solar system that had to do with a collision or something that caused a huge catastrophe. And I think that set us back to the Stone Age. Literally, we were going between Mars and Earth, and much like Mary and I talked about this today, much like the ending of Battlestar Galactica, the good one, the one with James Edward Olmos in it. They were just kind of marooned here, and their technology kind of faded away, and here we are. So there seems to be a lot of evidence to me that on Mars there was very, very, very prevalent civilization that predates ours. And so it's nice to see that this is being brought to light again, and maybe people pay more attention to it now that they've been seeing a lot of things in the sky they can't explain, and they don't believe the explanations they've been given by our government, because, to be honest, who would believe them about anything they tell us? They've been caught in so many lies. So I found that all very interesting. And then the latest, Mark Sims just sent me a story that the Defense Department, along with a scientist, the scientist believes he's found the secret to warp power, and they're going to try to develop it. It's like, oh my goodness, why does it have to be through the Defense Department? So I found both those topics that came up just within the last few days very interesting.
Is my mic working now?
Yeah.
Yes.
I hear you.
Okay, good. Okay,
Yeah.
I hear you quite well. Yeah. So, and now we have Dennis in here.
My camera was looking for my bird camera for some strange reason. I don't know why.
Your bird camera.
Okay. What is a bird camera?
It's it's one of these little teeny tiny, like an action cam.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's Wi-Fi, so I put it outside to watch the birds, and I was putting on a new filter because I had it set up for multispectral, and I'm turning it back to regular. But apparently my computer saw that and thought that was the camera I wanted, and I'm like, it's not even in the right room, so I had to go find it and turn it off.
Okay. Here's something from Benno.
Yeah, I don't think we nuked ourselves. Really, honestly, Benno, I think that something really nasty happened, because there was a scientist, and I forget his name now, and I even met him, and he was a friend of Roger Lear's, and he had written a whole book about this catastrophe that happened in our solar system that caused such chaos, like it was an exploding planet or something. I don't remember exactly, but he was able to map, based on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn and some of the other moons, our moon, at the moment of this explosion happened, and the time it would take all the debris to travel, it would hit the faces of these worlds, moons, and other planets in our solar system at a particular angle. And he did it. All the math worked, and it proved that something happened, and Mars got hit very, very badly, and it just knocked the atmosphere right off of it. And so I wish I could remember his name. I wish I could remember all the details about it, but it was very compelling. This was back in the 90s, and I don't know what happened to him. But I think something really bad happened. I don't know exactly what, but I know ever since I was a child, every time I looked at Mars, I felt a sadness when I looked at that planet. And I still do. And it's always, fascinated me, and it's fascinated so many of us. And then, of course, there's the great movie Quatermass in the Pit, which became 5 million years to Earth when they brought to the United States, which
Hmm.
was a Hammer picture. It's an excellent movie. And I found out, I met someone who knew the writer of the story, and he very much believed that we were the descendants of Martians, just like what he wrote about
Wow.
in his book, which became the movie with Quatermass, which I found really interesting because I was at a party and it's like, the guy knew the writer. And that theme seems to run through so much science fiction, and we're so fascinated with Mars. Why not Saturn? Why not Jupiter? I mean, they're beautiful planets, but there's something about Mars, and we know now that it did have an atmosphere and it probably did have vegetation and life on it at the bare minimum, based on what we found there, and lots of water. So chances are there was a civilization there too. There's just too many structures and things being found that just don't make any sense. It's one thing if you find one here and there, and yeah, that is natural. And this is a rare instance where Mother Nature did something that looks like it was formed by human hands or some intelligence. And that does happen on Earth. But God, there's so much of it on Mars that you have to, I think we need to go there. I think we need to investigate. Maybe our government's already done that and not even told us.
Looks like everyone disappeared. They've been abducted. There they are.
Oh, Earl? Yeah, they're abducting his internet connection.
I'm back. I know, it's really terrible today. It's everybody's disappearing and reappearing. It's like transporter.
No, we're fine. We're
Star
solid
Trek
as a
gone
rock.
wild.
Yeah, I'm on Spectrum, and we got a real high speed connection here. I pretty much would imagine Dennis is too. Did you never seen the blink out? What are you using for your internet connection?
Me? Starlink.
Yeah.
It's the only one
Starlink.
they have out here in the country.
Oh yeah, okay. So you're using Starlink. Well, yeah, it's absolutely solid.
So Joe,
Maybe
what
I
have
need
you been
go
up
that
to?
route.
I knew
Joe?
yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
I knew there would be a test. I have not studied for that question. Not much is the brief answer. I'm a tinkerer, carpenter, and I've been doing quite a bit of work around my house. As far as the stuff that we're talking about, I just read today, there was an article on my news page. There are some researchers, I guess, that have come up with a different theory on the probability of life on other planets. Quite a bit different than the prevailing theory about the possibility and the numbers. And I thought it was really interesting. These folks seem to think that the possibility is extremely good, not so rare as these other scientists have stated in the past. And every time I read an article like that, I think about the things that all the folks here on camera have endured in their lives, the things that we have seen, the experiences, and it just seems to me that with the increase in publicity for this topic in the last couple of years, that it becomes more and more difficult, I think, to defend the prevailing positions that scientists are taking, which is pretty much to be hands-off with this particular topic. And I know we're all awaiting disclosure, which I don't think is going to happen.
Oh no, I don't either.
No, not after 80 years of lies.
Yeah, disclosure from the government, but
Yeah.
I am encouraged by the greater numbers each year of people that are coming forward and these very strange stories that they're telling. But also the common threads that run through all of these stories And I think there's going to have to come a point where someone with the appropriate credentials is going to say, enough is enough. There's really something going on here that we should look at scientifically. We shouldn't just keep hearing these stories and discounting them or ignoring them.
They've certainly investigated other things in the past and that had less evidence.
I agree. Yes.
Indeed. And there's so much evidence for the case that we're being visited by something or someone. It's like an avalanche, and they still dig their heels in.
And you add all of these folks that have come forward in the last couple of years, the whistleblowers, the people that have worked for DOD or some other government entity that have, again, very similar claims, even though they don't know each other, about what they have seen, the materials, possibly bodies or organic material. I don't know. It just seems that it can't be ignored much longer. I just don't think it can.
No.
Well, I don't know if it's so much
Bursting
being
out
ignored
on its own volition.
It's not so much being ignored as just covered up
or denied.
Mm-hmm.
You're right, not ignored, but just denial of its of the truth of this.
Have any of you, and also in chat, seen the old video that was shot by one of real famous UFO investigator I'm drawing a blank on right now? These two older women. It was shot years ago, where they talk about their dad, who in the 30s told them about the bodies that they had in these glass tubes. God, who shot it? It wasn't John. What was it? You would know the name immediately, Earl. Name me some UFO investigators that go back into the 90s. I mean, there's real ones that are quite active right now. I hate it that I'm drawing a blank on his name because he's so well known, and he shot this video with them back in the 90s, I believe. They've passed away since, and they talked about their dad, and they talked about I guess he was brought in by someone to see these bodies, to see these, he called them beings in the tubes, and it was in an underground facility, and this was back in the 30s. And you listen to them talk and tell the story, and it's like they're not making it up. I mean, they're not into UFOs. Remember, Mary, I think you were falling asleep. We were watching.
It was late.
Yeah, you fell asleep, and I was just spellbound because they were describing things that nobody knew about, because this was pre-Roswell, and it's still. I will find it and I will send it to you, Earl, and I share it.
I'd love to see. I'm drawing a blank. I'm not sure. I'm thinking
share it in the post
Friedman
here too.
Or
who?
Yeah,
no, it wasn't Stanton Friedman. He's still alive.
Yeah, yeah.
He's not English,
so it's not the person's still with us then.
This person is still with us. He's much older now, but he's still very active, and he does shows and videos all the time. But anyway, it was astounding because this was like 1937. It was like 10 years before Roswell.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Bud Hopkins.
Well, you got the Aurora.
No, it wasn't Bud Hopkins.
Aurora crash in Texas. I mean, that's 1897. The Aurora crash in Texas. There was a grave site. It made the news, front page in the news, and all. But they keep putting. I mean, here's my problem with the current idea of disclosure. The same people that they're expecting to disclose are the guys that have obfuscated this information for all these years. They want to hand it back over to the military industrials. That's, I mean, Elon Musk is working for the military. He is the military industrial complex. Elon Musk with, Space Force and all that. And there's I don't believe that they're going to give disclosure in the way that people are hoping they do.
Well,
And
why
my
would
other
they?
fear
It
is that
doesn't
they're going
serve
to
them.
use it.
It
I
doesn't serve
know.
them. They only care
It
about
takes their
themselves.
power
They don't
away.
care about
Yeah.
us. We're just in the way.
Don't care
They
about
could kill
us.
us off. They do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah. I agree.
forget
I
them.
agree.
They're
Yeah.
suckers and losers. So,
Yeah.
because they think
The
they're going to win.
whistleblowers. Yeah, the whistleblowers are another thing, though. These are people that it's the truth is weighing so heavily on their shoulders that they want to come forward. That it's individuals that believe that the public needs to know.
You could see it on Jake's face. I mean, that.
Oh yeah,
watching him and just looking at his eyes, and it's like, yeah,
and he's getting such insults and such ridicule already.
Well, of course, he
immediately.
Will.
Yeah,
I mean,
David Grush, they questioned his sanity.
Family and friends said I was a lunatic. Your husband needs help. That's how people with boxes on their heads react to this stuff. I call them box heads because they live inside a box. They believe everything they were ever told in school and church, and everything that goes up must come down. You go outside that box, you're a lunatic.
Yeah.
So it's the way it is.
Yeah.
Sorry to be so blunt.
Yeah.
We're in
and then you
company.
have the Collins elite. The Collins elite who that are part of the military industrial complex. And they want to say this is all from the devil and it's demons. And that's the excuse that they give for not telling the public, because everything's black and white. It's either from God or from the devil in their eyes.
Again, they live
and
in a
I
box.
wonder where humanity would fall on that scale. I mean, you turn on the news report any night, you have to question, what are humans demons? I mean, we have bad behaviors. So, but this is an excuse they've used for decades and decades and decades. I'm sure they'll use it this time as well. So I don't know that we're going to get the kind of disclosure that people are hoping for if it's from officialdom. I mean, people that have wanted to do it, presidents, Jimmy Carter wanted to disclose, Bill Clinton wanted to disclose,
They're shut down.
Gerald Ford,
John F. Kennedy.
Yeah, Gerald Ford, all these guys, but as soon as they get in office, it's the door is shut. I don't think it'll be any different this time. Maybe I'm wrong. I will happily eat crow on this issue. No. I will eat crow with
Wait a minute, my crows are my friends.
As Catherine Hepburn once said, and there'll be pork in the trees in the morning. Yeah, so Wind and the Lion, you gotta love it. Right now, it looks like people are trying to find that video I brought up. I wish I just remember the name of this famous UFO investigator. They'd find it in 2 seconds, but I remember.
I found authors, but I didn't find any videos. John LeMay and what's their name? No Torres.
He's a real obvious.
I'll go into my history when I get home on my
Torres.
He's a real obvious. It's like it's a big name, like Danny Sheehan or Whitley Strieber. I'm drawing.
We'll put it in a post later.
Yeah,
Richard Dolan.
It's great. It's really something. So,
yeah, I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, he went there and they had the story about their dad and how he was shown these beings, and they talked about the pieces of the craft that they had there, and they just thought it was like balsa wood and some kind of mylar or something, but it wasn't. And of course, we've heard that same description years later when Roswell happened. The beam felt like balsa wood; it was so light. Yeah, their craft are very lightweight, very simple, not complex at all. So at least those particular guys were. Who knows who they were exactly, since we never really we didn't get to see the bodies. We got shown lots of fakes like the alien autopsy, which was a complete fake. And now they're trying to bring that one up again, trying to revive it and say, no, we found out now that it probably was real. And
God.
no, it's not. I mean, the minute I set eyes on it the first time, I looked at it and went, no. And then later, a very famous makeup artist, I know, and let's not forget that I started in 1971, 72 doing special makeup effects. And I came to Hollywood and I started working on the Planet Apes TV show. And I went and worked for all the studios. I had my own business. I did all kinds of creatures and effects for movies and television and, TV shows for 50 years. I knew everybody practically in the business. And this one particular makeup artist that I know who's very successful and done a lot of big movies, and I'm not going to say his name, but he told me he saw the body that was used, and it was in a back room of a makeup effects house of a person he knew in Canada, and said, you're right, it was fake. And he didn't think it was that hard to figure that out either, just looking at it. But it was fake, and yet there are people who will stone you to death to this day if you try to say it was fake. So there hasn't been any videos that I've ever seen of Grays on camera that I felt were genuine, with the exception of one. And again, I'm
The Area 51 interview thing.
No, I'm drawing blank on what's his name, Stan Resnick. Stan Resnick?
Right.
The one looking in the window.
Close.
Stan Romanek.
Stan Romanek.
We're all getting old, and our memories are almost.
Yeah, for sure.
Romanek.
Let me go back.
Romanek.
I was
Stan
I was
Romanek.
friends with Michael Linderman. You ever heard of Michael Linderman?
I have not.
I've heard the
He
name.
wrote several books. He used to talk for MUFON. He was very prolific during the 90s. Whitley knew him too.
Yeah.
And his wife, Deborah Linderman, became a hypnotherapist, and she was working with patients that had these experiences. And she was contacted by Stan. And this was back, had to be like, 2002 or 3, somewhere in there. And I got a call from her, and she said, I have these videos and pictures from my name, Stan, and I want to send them to you. Could you look at them and analyze them? Look at them. Tell me if you think the stuff that he's shooting is real. Now, nobody knew about this guy at this time. This was all hush-hush. He wasn't going public at all. He was scared to death. This is what they didn't tell you in the Netflix show, okay? So I'm looking at it, and sure enough, he's got this red orb flying through his house. Very realistic. I mean, it was the chances that he could have done any kind of CG back in 2003 was very, very, it wasn't a chance in hell of it. And I knew how you did that stuff. I could do it in Lightwave. I'd shoot a background plate. I put it in, but it all matched. The pixels all worked. It was real. Whatever it was on camera. So then he's got this camera set up, and because he was scared, he thought kids are playing a trick on him. He would see this alien or thing looking in his window at him. So he set up a camera to try to catch it. And as you know, he did. What was really interesting about the whole thing was listening to the public and the experts and the Joe Nichols and all those people, the Philip Glasses and all those people. They all immediately said it was fake. It's a mask, and someone's got a mask and it's on a pole and it's going up and down, and that's all it is. That's not what I saw. When I looked at the footage before anyone else did, I noticed by enhancing it and looking at it, the eyes were widening and narrowing, not blinking, widening and narrowing around the black covers. And I realized what he would have to have done to do that. And the whole process is very long, probably too long to tell here, but you have to sculpt and clay the head. Then you have to make a mold on it. You remove all the clay. You put the two halves of the mold back together, and you make what's called a core. And basically you put clay inside the mold so you get a even thickness of about 1 inch, maybe less. And you pour the core in there, and you take it all apart. And now when you put the core back in, you can fill it with foam rubber, and you've got this nice, evenly thin, very soft material. But then you take the core and you have to make a fiberglass underskull, and you have to cut up the fiberglass underskull and then hook cables into it that travel back and forth and can make the eyes widen and narrow and put other movements in it if necessary. Then you got to put it all back together and paint it and put the eye covers in and all that stuff. And then get some kid with a pole to stand outside the window and do that. The chances were very slim that he had the money or knew the people to do that kind of thing back then. So to this day, people say it's fake. I don't know for sure, because if it's fake, then somebody paid for it and had that done. And so what do you got? I mean, where do you go with that? I mean, it looked good to me. It really did. And his other videos were real too. And then, of course, he got in trouble with child porn on his computer or something. How many times have we heard that with people who had evidence that this was real? Look what they did to Lazar. They did it to a lot of people.
Yeah, anybody can be hacked. Anybody can be hacked.
Sure.
That's the scary
and you
thing.
get in their computers, put stuff on the computer, kick down your door. Hey, you got caught with this. None of that will hold up anymore, because you have to actually catch the person in the act. There's no proof anymore of that. And it's just like having video of you doing something illegal. You can deny it, because I can make anybody look like they've done something illegal on video. It's not that hard anymore, especially with now AI. So you have to discount that kind of thing. But back then, 2003 or 2, whenever it was, I mean, no. So I think that he was legit, but he got smeared, so. But that is how you have to do that, and that is what it takes. And I did that a lot for films. I mean, all the creatures in Ghostbusters, the terror dog and the marshmallow guy and stuff. I did mechanisms for some of that stuff, and to make the face move, and was even inside the costumes. So I knew that kind of work, and that's why when I saw that, oh God, what was the Dr. Reed? Remember Dr. Reed? And that too. I mean, that guy got so angry at me because I was asked to debunk him, and I did. It was easy. So we have to be very cautious.
So you did the Stay Puft Marshmallow guy, eh, Steve?
Well, I didn't do him, but someone else sculpted him. But they, I got the fiberglass underskulls, and I cut him up and put the brow pieces in and stuff, and hooked up the cables to move the facial expressions and to do that.
Fun.
So, but I did a bunch of stuff in Ghostbusters. We'll talk about that another day.
Yeah.
Fun. Mary, I want you to know that the decorative heart behind you has not gone unnoticed by me for Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah. It's very, very alien. It looks like a vortex, a heart vortex.
It is.
Well, I like to go with season.
Yeah. I didn't come up with that one.
Maybe next month we'll have alien leprechauns.
I'm taking Lisa out for Valentine's for dinner after off here, but a little Italian joined out here that she likes.
Yeah, Stan. I was just looking at what John was saying about Stan. Yeah, I remember talking to him on the phone and everything. And he just seemed straightforward to me. I really, and then they come up with all this dirt on him and everything. And I don't know that anything was ever proven about that. But I did watch, was that Netflix that they had it was like a 2-hour documentary on him.
That's where I saw it.
Yeah. And of course, we haven't heard from him since. Now, I mean, I haven't seen him surface. Guarantee you, if I came up with something tomorrow that proved this was really happening to me, they'd find some way to mess me up. I would.
I believe
I wouldn't waste any time doing it either. Because that's why.
Now, Mick West went after me. recently.
Well, this is why
I had
disclosure is not going to happen.
What happened, Earl?
yeah.
I didn't hear you.
Debunker that's kind of taken the place of Philip Glass now. And he's got the website. He even has a business manager. And I know because I wanted to debate him and do it on Zoom and invite, have whoever wanted to attend, $10 a head. And I said, you know what, winner take all. Let's go. You do a real nice job when you're not being questioned yourself, but you're debunking all these other people. And he wouldn't do it. His business manager is who I wound up getting a hold of and said, yeah, Mick doesn't debate. But
I had they don't have any evidence either. Where's their evidence? I mean, Philip Glass said, there is no Bigfoot, there are no UFOs, there are no ghosts. I saw that thing with him saying all those things. Okay, fine, prove it. Well, I prove it.
Well, Mick screwed up with me. Okay, he was, and he even had people that usually are on the debunkers side that were standing up for me and saying that that Mick had jumped the shark. That was literally what one person had posted on his website. You jumped the shark with this one. What happened? Fresno Fox News got a hold of me. They had a video, and I showed it to you guys. It was very good. It was, a kind of a spherical orb type UFO that was hovering over the city, and it was just hanging there in the sky, and then suddenly it shot off. It looked like it shot off maybe 2 or 3 miles, and it was instantaneous. But you could see the trail from it. You could see the trail on the video footage. And what Mick said was, Fox News got a hold of me. They wanted a seat of the pants assessment of this case. And I did do an assessment. I checked the pixelization out of this. I checked for any, editing and it was a spot on, right on video. It was a UFO. So I did go on that local Fox station and I gave my assessment, and it kind of went viral on YouTube. So that was what Mick went after. And, he claimed that that they had zoomed the video to make that.
Justin, I haven't taken a close enough look at that, but I will when I get a chance. And if Earl Grey would come back, he probably would have something to say about that.
Jerry,
have you seen the latest space station video that was shot of a UFO? And it starts off, and there's just something in the background going across the screen very slowly, and I'm thinking space debris, and then it stops. And then it turns around and goes back the other way, and then it shoots off really fast. And it's like, okay, we are not supposed to have anything like that up in orbit. So maybe did you see that one? It's been up.
I have seen that. Yes.
Because when you first started watching it, Joe, didn't you figure it was the same kind of debris moving through space?
Initially, yes, I thought.
But then when it started doing those maneuvers, I was like, no, that's under control, whatever that is. So
yes, that was unique.
Yeah, we're talking about
I saw that video. It's a good one.
Yeah. Also, I watched a bit of.
Well, anyway, I was able to kind of debunk Mick West's debunkery, but I'm really careful about making seat of the pant assessments like that.
Well, sure.
But it was so obviously a good UFO video that I had no qualms about going on record. But you get one wrong, and suddenly they'll use that to just do a hit job on you publicly. So I'm very careful about that.
Let's get your opinion on some of the ones I watched the other night. There was this compilation video that this lady had made of all different saucers shot mostly in 2003. And again, Mary fell asleep, so she missed them. And this one really, really captured me because it's close up and it looks like a Billy Meyer ship, not the sport model, but the one with all the balls on top.
Mm.
And the video is very, very good. It's very clear, pretty clear for what it is, and you can make out details on it and stuff. But then the camera pulls back, and you see it's being shot from the end of a boat moving through the water at a pretty high rate of speed, because you can see the wake, going off from it. So, and the boat's moving, and the thing is perfectly registered, and there really wasn't anything in frame for him to do for a faker in 2003 to have tracked on. Did you see that video?
I
I
have.
haven't seen that one, but if you
haven't
send it
seen
to me,
it.
I'll check it out.
Then I'll have to dig
No,
that
I
up.
haven't seen that.
There were
one yet.
others too.
I
but
saw the
then
ISS video.
Yeah, well, that's great, but there's a saucer. Now we're surfing. We see George Norrie with Jaime Maussan. I know how we feel about Jaime, but I watched it, and
Jaime's a little unreliable.
There's that guy in Italy that has a camera set up, and he films UFOs through his roof, through that little opening door. Did you see those videos?
I remember those. I think they tried to debunk them as buttons or something kind of weird, and I'm like, that's the wrong
the
focus.
one is gold. The one is gold, and he got a 1,000mm lens and put it on his camera. And I woke up Mary for this part. He has a 1,000mm lens on his camera, and he's got it focused in on a little dot flying up there. And you see this sort of copper colored with little rings underneath it. It looked really, really convincing. But he's got another camera on his camera while it's filming this, and you can see his LCD screen, and it's on the screen, because he's thinking this will be a good way to prove I'm not faking it. Now, I guess they could have went outside and got some button hanging way up in the air a few thousand feet and zoom in on it. But I mean, other than that, I don't know how he got that shot. So we need to look closely at things like this, because I think a lot of times there's very legitimate UFO footage going right under our eyes, and we think it's as fake as the alien autopsy at first glance. But then you go back and look at it again, you go, well, wait a minute,
It's always
It's
good to
on
double
his
check our
LCD.
assumptions.
Now you could have a tape in there, you could be playing it back.
Yeah.
And say that was, but I'm pretty sure I saw the red record light on it. It said record. So
I paused it. Yeah, it was recording.
yeah. Well, it's because you're a good observer, Dennis, and I just tear things apart. I'll just stop it, look at it, say, wait a minute, that can't be like that, but it is. Well, then it's probably not fake. So that means, oh boy.
I always start with the idea of, if I were to fake it, how would I do it? And then work backwards from there. It's like, well, I could play it back and it would look like I was doing it live, but it wouldn't line up if I was shooting from a second camera. And I'm like, well, that's it. And then I go back and look at it again and go, this is probably legitimate footage, and I should probably, have a second look at it.
And the funny thing is that back in the early 2000s, because I was doing Lightwave and doing work for the History Channel and everything, I would deliberately fake stuff. I'd go out in the backyard, shoot a plate, have a UFO come in really close over in my backyard, and I'd show it to people, and I'd tell them it was fake. And they wouldn't believe me. It's like you can't win, And they say, no, that's got to be real. No, I faked it. I'm telling you I faked it. I'm trying to show you that it can be done, But if you zoom in on the pixels and stuff, you'll see that the UFO is a lot cleaner than the high 8 background footage I shot. And I tried to make it look dirty to match that, but it's not 100% match. You can tell the difference when you look. We all know this. So,
yeah. I mean, the phenomena is so impressive on its own. It doesn't need anybody's help, really.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
Honest to God.
We have so much evidence. So, boy, I'm just sitting here a little uncomfortable because I went and visited my urologist yesterday, and everything's fine. Year and a half, nothing's come back. But the method that they used to find this out by inserting a camera up a very private place, and it's extremely painful, and you have to live with it for the next few days, and then it goes away and you feel fine again. But you're happy that you're cancer free. So I guess it's worth the trade-off.
Tough to be a man.
Huh?
It's tough to be a man.
Oh, and women
be a
have it
woman.
so easy.
It's tough to be a human.
Yeah,
It's tough to be a human. We're all subject to this stuff.
Having babies is got to be worse than this, I would imagine. So.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
This is
Oh my
And my
God.
daughter said something
Yeah.
about a watermelon.
yeah.
Oh.
When I first met, I met
Yeah.
Mary's daughter at her wedding, and she got a little tipsy, and she used that expression about the watermelon and how it came into the world, and yeah, it was interesting.
Sorry, Earl.
Ouch. Hey, when I was in nursing school, they decided it would be fun to put me into the OB/GYN wing of the hospital that I was, the teaching hospital that I was at for my clinical. So I was there for like probably 30 different births. And I had to help with some of them. I mean, there was one where, this was back in the 1980s. And this woman had a very small pelvic cradle, to say it nicely. And her husband had one leg, I had the other, and the doctor's pulling this baby out of her.
Oh.
And it was like a literal pop. I don't know if I should be saying this.
Well, we haven't used any dirty words, so we're good.
You're stream here.
Someone
of course,
didn't like
the
it. You're
mom
starting
was
to
so
fade off
thrilled to
again
have
there,
that baby
Earl.
in her
Yeah,
arms
Earl, you're fading
that
off.
it was all forgotten after.
I'm surprised between that job.
The mom was so thrilled to have the baby in her arms after.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised after all these years.
She kind of forgot about the pain.
30 births, Earl. You had 30 births. And between that and being in a rock band, you can still hear. I know you were.
I know. I have had an interesting life.
Yeah.
I've had an interesting life. I've never delivered a baby in the back seat of a car or anything like that, though. Strangely. And I've only had to do the Heimlich maneuver once, and it worked. And I saved my patient's mom. And she didn't like me very much. She didn't, but, just like doing this. And yeah, I did the Heimlich, and the chicken popped out, hit the wall,
Yeah. That's the Heimlich. Not
so
the
it was
Heineck,
an interesting occupation. No, not the Heineck, but now I do the Heineck maneuver, right? Yeah.
Now the Heineck maneuver is an
Heineck
entirely different thing altogether.
I did a T-shirt up for myself. It was just a one-off that said, "What would Heineck do? Like, what would Jesus do?" It had the, the WWHD, thing, and it had a picture of Dr. Heineck on the shirt. I still have it. I should wear it next time.
Thanks, Justin.
Visit you guys.
Yeah, it's been Justin was just saying some nice things about my health, and I appreciate that. It's been a rough ride. This last year and a half has not been comfortable, but the work and that I do really keeps my mind off of it. And as long as I'm working, I don't feel anything except I'm working, and I'm excited to be doing it. So it's the best cure for what ails you, they say. So I just realized. I just realized I have an owl sitting back here looking at me. I put it there, then forgot about it, and I'm looking at the video, and I went, "Wait a minute! Oh yeah." It's interesting how similar they look, in a way.
Very cool.
Yeah, the big paper mache
being watched.
About
yeah, I've seen that little guy a few times.
That owl. Well,
everybody should see Steve's studio at some point.
So we've almost used up our hour.
Any questions from anybody?
Yeah, we're gonna find that video of those two ladies, and I'm also gonna find that compilation video to show you guys with all the different saucers in it. It's really quite extraordinary. There are ones in there I've never seen before, and more than once by different people, you see a Meyer type craft. And this was
Wow.
2003. So,
Well, I got all my video editing stuff all revved up, so I'll have a look and throw all the filters and look for everything.
well, good. Good. And let us know what you find out. You know, I mean, the one on the boat was like, wow, whoever did that, they were good. Or they just shot it and it was real. So, and I mean, it looks just like the ones in Billy's pictures.
Mhm.
And when did that book come out? That was in the 90s, correct?
The Billy Muir book?
Yeah,
No,
that
it was
big,
the
beautiful
80s,
one.
I think.
It was the
Yeah,
80s.
It
earlier.
was the
Yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when it came out. I think maybe the 70s, in fact,
Yeah. I
79
had that
or
book.
so.
I don't know what happened to it. I really wish I still
It'd be
had
a
that.
collector's item now.
Yeah, I remember getting
Oh,
it.
we have a question here.
Oh, okay, good.
What? Impostor
Imposter
syndrome?
syndrome, as
I don't
in,
understand the question.
yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't understand that.
Oh, well,
I'm not sure what the
basically,
imposter syndrome.
people feel like they've, even though this is really happening to them, their mind can't quite accept it, and they wonder if they're making it up.
Oh, yeah.
Imposter syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I totally get that. I don't know if I felt that way. There's times I have. I think this couldn't possibly be happening. Really? I mean, it is though. And every time it's the same thing. I'll go, well, maybe I just, this is all just in my head and it's a fantasy. And I start to think to myself, well, what real evidence do you have for yourself? Well, there's that time you went into the kitchen and there was a gray standing in front of the refrigerator. Yeah, that's true. So about the time you were with your grandfather and the big orange ball came over and all that stuff, and you were with him. Yeah, that's true too. And what about the triangle over the back? And it just goes on and on and on and on and
I
on.
was thinking about that movie, Nope.
Oh,
That was so well titled, Nope. This can't be happening.
oh,
Yeah.
I don't
That
know
was
any aliens with hats, and then you see tiny footprints in the backyard, and you're like, did toddlers visit in the middle of the night? No, I don't think so.
no, aliens wear hats.
Jerry has worn a hat. That's one of the strangest
Men in
things
Black.
during the early times. It's little like a like a little sailor's cap or something, and I'm like, is your head cold? What? You guys don't wear hats, do you? But occasionally, apparently, they do. I've heard other reports of them having capes and other weird outfits.
Oh yeah, no. The vampire looking outfit with the big tall
Yeah.
white
Robes,
collar.
Yeah,
robes.
what's it like?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like,
It looks
what?
like
Okay.
looks like it's made out of black leather. I know. Sure, that's not uncommon.
Well,
But you think, could that have happened? And it's so out of our experience. It's so easy to then immediately think to yourself that there's no way that could have possibly happened.
There's a guy I met in the support group in Yvonne's group back in '93. I think his name was Matt. I have some of his original artwork, which he gave to me and said, keep it. He disappeared. So the Greys were very similar to mine. Their arms were like poles. Their bodies were super thin. They didn't have a lot of it. No anatomy per se. The really interesting thing I found about it was the fact that he had, from the backside of them, their backs away from him, was these very subtle little vertebrae going down the back, raised up, you could see going through the neck. And I had a recollection of that as well. And then there's the feet that really aren't feet. And I'll have to show you that art. It's here at the studio. It's really, I don't think anybody's ever seen it before. This was done in probably around 93, 94. It's black and white. It's pen and ink. He was an excellent artist, but he got out of the whole scene. So,
If I can answer that question also, please.
yeah, absolutely, Joe.
About the imposter syndrome, I've not heard that term before, but in my experiences, in my most recent experiences in 2011, when I woke up the following morning from those, I immediately knew what had happened. I had no reservation at all about that having been real. And I started writing everything down almost immediately. in all of the experiences I've had, I've never had that sense that what happened to me may not have happened. I have always been absolutely sure that what happened was real.
You never questioned it.
Never. It was as real as anything.
Being here right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know on some of my experiences in breaking the silence, there have been some folks that have commented, how do you remember such detail? How do you remember so much about that? It doesn't seem like that's possible. And I can only say that while those things were happening, I was as aware and lucid as I am right now. It was
Thank you, John.
it was as if whatever was in front of me doing what was happening somehow had not generated any effect over my mental capacity. I was completely aware and normal during much of that. And that is how I have so many details about some of those things. And again, I've never had an imposter syndrome. I've never felt like none of that was real.
And if there's new people here, or you simply haven't watched Joe Stillwell's, it's in 4 parts on our channel, his story, you really ought to watch it, because it's quite amazing. Really, really something. So, and I'd really like to, if somehow is possible, try to recreate some of the rest of that experience that you shared with us not too long ago, about being in the desert and the wall and the craft, and
Yeah.
that it was mind-boggling, and it would be kind of hard to do with CGI, but I'd sure like to try, because it would be nice to tell the rest of that story, the other part of it.
It was a very long, very intricate encounter.
Yes.
That I had forgotten about for 46 years or 42 years, whatever
Right.
it was, over 40 years. And then when I recalled it, because of something that was said at an experiencer meeting,
That's right.
someone said something and it triggered that memory. And I have to say that was a very unusual feeling.
It is.
Having all of that come back, it was a very
Wow.
unusual feeling.
With mine, seeing Caltrans workers off to the side of the road a long time ago, at night, it was dark and scary on the road, and these guys are off the side of the road with all the bright lights on, their little hard hats and everything, and that did that to me. I remember something had happened to me with my grandmother when we were living up in the mountains, and it is a very odd feeling.
Amazing
Because
video.
you react to that trigger, and it just opens up this whole memory, and at that moment, it's not like deja vu or anything else. It's just this, you get this chill. It's like almost like you're frozen in a moment of time at that very moment, and it all comes flooding back.
Yeah, it was very
Now, the girl you were with had no memory of any of this.
She did not, but she has written a short letter where she indicates what she does remember of that particular trip. And the one thing that I thought was a little bit, I don't know, it was something I didn't expect. She indicated that she remembered at some point that there was a wall next to a car.
Mm-hmm.
And that falls in line with what was happening at the time. But she has no recollection so far of anything else from that.
She didn't remember the scary creature that you kept seeing off to the side of the road.
No. She,
Yeah.
as far as I was concerned at the time, she was asleep. That was my belief.
It looked kind of like a skeleton or something. I'm trying to remember. I get this.
There were a lot of mummies.
Oh, it's a mummy.
There were a lot of mummies.
Yeah.
There was a woman dressed in Victorian era clothing. There were 3 people in a small enclosure, a cube, that had the edges lit, and they looked like folks from the Old West. There were just very bizarre scenes throughout this whole encounter, and they all appeared to be 3-dimensional projections right next to the car. As I encountered each one of them, they were very near, right near the car. At some point in that particular encounter, I lost track of her. She did not appear to be with me any longer. And then there came a point where I was aware that she was with me again. Now, but she was in a different position than she had been when I last remember her being there.
That's right. You were driving, was it a Volkswagen Beetle?
Bug.
Yeah,
A 1969 Volkswagen Bug.
Oh, that was a good year for that car too.
I owned that car for only 4 months. I got drafted into the service very soon after buying that car. So small car, 2 people, skis on top, and through the desert with no other traffic.
Well, if you're not opposed to it, we ought to have you back and get the rest of that.
Sure. Sure.
So we can preserve it. And because I, as you were describing the whole story last time, I could just see it. And I could really get this sense of disorientation from what you were seeing.
I have watched that particular Breaking the Silence episode a couple of times. And I actually am looking at you because it's such a long story. I'm thinking this must be boring for you.
Hardly.
No.
But I have been pleasantly surprised that periodically, as I say something, even though you may look a little bit distant, I'll say something and you'll immediately comment, "Oh boy, it reminds me that you are keenly aware of what I'm saying." So I'm glad.
I'm seeing it too. I'm seeing it too, Joe. I mean, when people describe their encounters to me, it's like I can see it. I don't know how else to explain it.
And as
I'm
I'm
there,
talking, I'm also seeing it.
And I feel the feelings of that moment at the same time. John, you were saying, do you reckon ETs are even in control of our triggers? I don't know. I really don't know.
Sometimes.
It's just, I think they don't worry about it that much. And I do think we are supposed to remember over time, but not immediately, not all at once, because it would be very disruptive to our lives if we did. I think that was part of the point of Close Encounters when Roy Neary has his experience, that it completely obsesses him and it trashes his life, his normal life on Earth with his family and his job and everything else. So this does happen. So, and then a trigger comes along and you remember it. And it might be a day afterwards. It may be 10, 20, 30 years afterwards, but it's still all there and it's still all intact. And it's really amazing when it happens. Yeah. So Joe, no, not boring at all. When you start speaking, or when anyone starts speaking about their experience, I go kind of blank because I'm there. And I'm seeing it and I'm feeling it all. And I'm thinking, how do I transition this into something that I will express itself to an audience without hyping it, without making it into a horror show, so that's why I get that blank look on my
Yeah,
face.
no, Steve, I didn't mean to imply that you were bored.
No, I know you didn't.
The story was just so long. I kept thinking as I was watching you, not during the interview itself, but during the playback here at my house watching. I was watching you. I wasn't watching myself talk. And I kept thinking, this is very detailed. It's very lengthy. Steve must be getting tired of this. But then a second later, I would say something and you would immediately comment on it. So you were catching everything I said, which I greatly appreciated. You were listening very closely.
Yeah, I will never stop being fascinated by this subject. It's every story someone tells me is brand new to me, and it's just as exciting as the first one I ever heard.
And I have to say, your reference to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I fashioned a sculpture of the head of the creature that was in my room. And I brought it up to your studio. You and Mary saw it.
Right.
And while I was doing that, my daughter came by one day. And I was in the garage working on that. And she popped her head out from inside the house. She said, "What are you doing?" And she walked out, and I told her what I was doing. And she immediately said, and this kind of makes me laugh right now, but she said, "Who are you, the guy from Close Encounters?" Because he used potatoes, the mashed potatoes, to form
This
Devil's
means
Tower,
something. Mm-hmm.
trying to form Devil's Tower.
Right. I did that
she
myself.
Recalled that. She remembered that he was obsessed with that, and he made a model out of potatoes. And I laughed when she said that, and I said, "Yes, but instead of using potatoes, I'm using cardboard and foam."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I was compelled to make that. I think because the drawing in my book was not what I had intended. It didn't come out looking like the creature actually looked, and I felt that I could actually sculpt it more clearly, and it did. It came out much better.
I can only imagine if you had got hold of a hunk of clay.
Yeah, really.
You did such a great job with that. Yeah. Well, I worked with clay for
It was
years.
fascinating.
So, yeah. Well, Joe, we'll talk about getting you in front of camera again, and
Sure.
and doing that. So, you live where again?
I live in a small town in Orange County, Seal Beach.
Yeah,
Okay.
Seal Beach,
Yeah.
right.
I know where that is. Yeah. Well, maybe we can come to you this time and film you in your own environment. That might be if you'd be okay with that.
Yeah, let's chat later.
You know,
about that.
Seal Beach is right
Where
they saw the Tic Tac was Seal Beach, between Seal Beach and Catalina Island. Those are the coordinates of where the Navy pilots first saw the Tic Tac.
Yes, I had a spectacular sighting during the daytime over the weapons station wharf, which is just about a quarter of a mile from my house.
You should keep looking because you're well positioned. That's probably where they have the portal, is under the sea there. Yeah, because we keep getting reports from that area.
And talking about that, this particular sighting involved about 10 or 12 lights in the sky, but there was one that appeared out of nowhere after all of these others were in place, and it was circular or spherical, and it was ruby red in color, and it sparkled. It just kept sparkling, just like a sparkler would, a 4th of July sparkler. This beautiful ruby, in fact, similar to the color behind Mary right now. It traveled very slowly toward the wharf. All of these things were about 1,000 feet high in altitude. And this thing kind of went between several of the others that were in the sky. And when it disappeared, this was what was so unique. I'll never forget this. It didn't just go away. It was spherical, and as it disappeared, it looked like when you put a coin in the slot of a coin-operated machine, it looked like it went behind a curtain, but it was just the sky.
Like it eclipsed out of our reality.
It looked like it went in a slot in the sky. It was very unique the way it disappeared. Anyway, after that happened, I came in the house and I just assumed there's got to be a ship in the dock, and I bet they're loading up some kind of nuclear material on this ship. And I'd only been in the house a couple of minutes when I heard a ship's horn, which is an indicator they're pulling away from the dock.
Right.
So my suspicion was correct. There was a ship over which all of these things appeared for quite a long period of time, and it pulled away from the dock after they all disappeared. So that was an interesting sighting.
Wow.
Wow.
That'll get their attention. Any nuclear thing.
Well, I contacted the public information.
You guys, I have to tap out in a second here because my
me
wife
too.
and I have dinner reservations.
My bladder is calling. I hate to say.
Sorry about
Joe-
that.
But Joe,
I know.
we'll be
I'm
in
really,
touch.
really sorry. I could just, you guys can keep going
No, I
Well,
can't.
if you
We're
want.
over
5:15.
My
Yeah.
tri-tip.
And
Oh,
and Joe, we'll be in touch. We'll give you a
Ah,
call.
you're
and
right.
try to pull. We will pull this together because I think it'd make a very interesting
Cool.
show, and we're kind of doing things differently than we have been doing them, and trying to make it more interesting and more filmmaking and more. We'll shoot you in your home. We'll do some B-roll of you working on things you like to do around the house and stuff while you're doing a narrative over it. It should be really nice.
Yeah, we'll give you a call.
Cool.
All right.
Yep.
Okay,
right.
thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Great idea.
Yeah, for your support.
We'll see you when
Thank
the
you,
leprechauns
guys.
come out next
and
month.
the stickers and all that.
Goodbye
You
now.
guys are wonderful. We love you.
Happy Valentine's Day, guys. Love you guys.
You know.
too.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Next Saturday is the first communion letters.
Yeah.
See you then.
See you
Cool.
then.